Good afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Crone Zone Conversations with the Ancients. I'm Priscilla. This is my buddy Heather, and today we're welcoming Kerri O'Donnell from Terra Soul Writer. Thanks for being here, young lady.
I'm happy to be here.
We are thrilled to have you here too. And I don't know, do you guys want to pull a card for the show? I don't see anybody in the chat room yet, but we might as well pull a card for the show and see.
But we did.
Okay. Yeah, but we didn't do it on
camera.
on camera.
Let me see.
I am going to use the deck of characters, I think, for this one.
Ooh, I love the deck of characters. That is so
I'm going to
good.
pull 3, kind of give like an overall vision.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got my Angels and Ancestors Oracle.
Angels
Kyle
and
Gray's.
That sounds
I love
good.
his.
Yeah.
I relate to it because it's indigenous, very earth. Hey, Jules, listening and painting.
Yay.
Well, guess what? I have your bracelet on that you gave me. It's my love power bracelet. Thanks for being here, love. Let's see what our show's going to do today. We're going to actually talk about Terra Soul Writing and what it's meant to Kerri in her life.
Yes.
So, after we do some cards.
Should I start? Because I already
absolutely
right ahead.
Not mine. And it's kind of interesting because we were talking about protection before. I'm feeling like we were really protected. And the first thing I pulled was shield.
Wow.
Oh
my God.
There is a
Guardian
sense
angel.
and I got baby angel. Yeah.
Peacekeeper.
And I got the guitar as my third card, which I think is to me about playing your song, playing your music, playing your creative self. You're doing your thing, you know. So I feel like we're protected to bring that out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you want to go through your last one? Then I'll go through mine.
Oh, wow. It just blew my mind that it was the guardian angel. We're not alone. We know we're always not alone. And the peacekeeper is here. Let go of having to be right all the time. And then the lady, enjoy growth and reap rewards. So, Yay.
And this one said, go look at the stars, get inspiration, and you will flourish. And then when you're done flourishing and getting your inspiration going, you're going to be able to celebrate.
Woohoo!
Yay!
I'd say those are beautiful cards.
And
for the
I
day.
think I might have been thinking a little bit of Jules, so that may be some of that.
Well, I don't know Jules, but I was very inspired by the fact that she was painting. So
Jules
very
is
creative that I'm feeling here.
Yes,
Awesome.
She has a show coming up. The 4th. I don't know. You'll have to put the date, Jules. I can't remember which date, but it's first week of June. So
she's one of the known artists down here.
Local artists here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome.
I have a few pieces.
She also has shows sometimes in Maine because she lives in Maine she's a snowbird. So she's down here when it's really nasty up there and then goes back up there.
Well,
and then we have a place in Maine to go visit like we did last year.
Yeah.
There you go. Then, and when I'm up in New Hampshire, I'll be able to visit.
New Hampshire too. Yes. Yes.
Oh.
So anyway.
All righty. So
you
started.
I was, she was taking a class and I was busy at the time, but I was wondering more about the soul writing, and I'm just following along so you can just follow where you want to go with. And so I was wanting to know more about it. And how did you start doing soul writing?
Okay. And I wanted to add, Heather gave me a list of questions for me to consider before the show. Mm-hmm. And I ended up soul writing on the questions.
I love that.
To make sure I was getting the information that they wanted me to convey. So I apologize if it looks down on, I wrote some things down and I want to just make sure that I'm covering the things that had come up in the soul writing session.
That is so cool.
Okay, cool.
So how did I start? The first thing they wanted me to explain, and it's something I really reflected on, was this was a process for me. So it wasn't like I just woke up and said, I'm going to soul write today.
Needless to say.
It was a process that began when I was very young. So I would say high school was the first time, maybe even middle school, that late middle school, where we could call that journaling. And it was a way I would literally do monthly summaries that I would type up in high school of how the month went, messages, my emotions.
Wow.
I think this was a way.
A diary.
Like it was like a diary, and I did it on the computer. And it was a way that I felt like I was connecting to my voice. I think that was the first step. So that's step one. Connecting.
And even in middle school, you were connecting.
Even in middle school. I would say it started maybe around 7th or 8th grade. It started with an actual diary my mother gave me, but after that, it went beyond the diary. It was, all right, I'm going to summarize my month. And I think that's when I got very connected to my voice. And then I learned a valuable lesson. I was so proud of these journals in college. I started sharing them with people I was friends with. Big mistake. Big mistake. And this is going to go back to some of the rules of soul writing that we can kind of get into at the end. But you really need to be protective of the things that you write down. Absolutely. That's like the number one rule. So even people who are doing that now, we talked about that in class too, to really be protective of your writing. It's for you and spirit, and that's about it. If you choose to share down the road when you feel safe, that's up to you. But I learned a valuable lesson in college by sharing them. It actually shut me down because then the critics came out. Oh, why did you write this? Did you know you spelled this wrong? Did you, like little things that didn't mean anything.
Right.
And a lot of judgment on who you were. Because
I can imagine. I would never think to share it. I would never have done that in a million years.
I'm just like, I'm open and free. And then it shut me down. So I had a little backlash.
I can understand that.
Right. And that lasted, I would see, through the late 80s to about mid 90s. And at that point,
Isn't it amazing what a little criticism will do to us?
10 years, like a 10-year span. I did not write at all. In fact, I think I was really close creatively in general. And that's when I bumped into Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. And I know that you had some experience with Julia. It was a big 90s thing. Her book was out. I think it's already past their 25th anniversary.
I think it has.
Yeah, because I think she had a special book out.
I have a copy right over here.
Yeah, it's just
my granddaughter.
Yep. And it was huge. And I read it and I started doing her morning pages.
We did too.
I even connected with people in our community that did a writing group together, working through some of the creative stuff in The Artist's Way together as a group and talking about it, talking about our experiences. And that really motivated me more to keep up with morning pages. And I reconnected with my voice, but I also began to connect to a psychic connection. I think at this point I was, am I heading toward 30 years old? I'm somewhere around there. So I've gotten past the crazy 20s and I'm just starting to come to my own and starting connecting with my psychic sense. And I had a lot of clairaudient experiences that freaked me out. We had some paranormal experiences in that house that I feel was agitated by my soul writing, to be honest, because I was just starting to connect. So I had that experience. And that's when I moved to the tarot cards. So that's when the tarot cards come in. My mother gave me, I was so poor that year, and my mother gave me a $25 gift. And I spent that $25 on my first tarot cards, the original Rider-Waite deck. I still have the deck. And my husband, everybody thought I was nuts. I should have used that money for food. But no, I am going to buy a deck of tarot cards and, give a man.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Right. Because it ended up being
your birthday.
It was my birthday. And it actually was the beginning of being able to earn a living with those cards. So what I did is I started to journal on the cards. And because I didn't know anything about tarot cards, or so I thought. And I just looked and I literally soul writed, but I didn't know what that was. On each card. It took me a couple of months. And then I just attuned to everything. And then I just went on and started reading professionally. Boom, just like that, right after the journaling. So I was starting to connect to those visuals, those messages. And then I realized that my voice and the psychic voice might be the same, but I was wrong. And this is where the tarot soul writing came in. As I'm reading, I did email readings for people. I started to get used to the psychic voice. I did best with email and chat readings, actually, because I was able to write and channel. And then I realized there's a difference between my voice that I'm seeing in some of my journaling and another voice that comes through that just seems so pure and so capable. And I was starting to differentiate between those two voices. That leads to just recently, I had a reading, and I got to do a shout out for her. And she's part of the community, Kim from Intuitive View. She did a reading, like one of her last years of reading. And I just asked that one question. I said, I need sort of mentoring on that one area. I feel like there's something next for me, but I can't quite figure it out. And she said to me that it had something to do with writing, but it wasn't like writing a book. It had something to do with writing in my spiritual work. And I was like, because I had already started making plans, like thinking, oh, the cards I pull and I journal on, maybe that's something I could do something with. And that just knocked me into gear. I started bumping into real people who did automatic writing, soul writing, which was coined by Joanne DiMaggio in her book, Soul Writer. And I started to integrate the two, which developed the classes, which brought me to my new name, which brought me here. So now I'm trying to other people to kind of go through that process, but more quickly.
Right.
Like I had to do it the hard way.
20 years.
Yeah. I had to do it my whole life, but maybe I could help people to connect more quickly.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Let's just stop for a minute, say hi to the people in the chat. Linda Day Gonzalez and Esther G.
Esther, White Dragon.
Esther G was taking a nap. And there were the Crones. Yay. Oh, White Dragon was taking a nap. So glad to have you guys here today. This is a fascinating journey listening to how you got here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I've taken your class and it was really amazing. I was learning so much until it ended.
And then it ended. And then it was over. And then
it was over. And I actually stopped. I got so busy. Because I took up a new hobby too. A new thing with QHHT, Dolores Cannon's. I
right with Dolores Cannon. You were talking about that at the end of the class.
So I've gone down that rabbit hole, and nothing else matters.
Of course, that's what happens with the rabbit holes.
So, other than it's giving you a new way out, have you seen any other benefits of what you're doing?
All right. So, I talked about.
Or is there more?
I kind of listed some benefits here. And one of the things that I felt was that benefits are really individual. So the benefits I had might not be the benefits of other people who try this process. And that's okay. But for me, I think, number one, it helped me to ground myself. So every morning I start, earlier the better, to do soul writing. And it has to be a habit. It's like working out. It's like eating right. You have to kind of put yourself in that habit. Yeah. So that's a grounding thing for me. And it was a tool for me to connect to spirit directly, which was hard for me. Like I'm not a channeler naturally. So I felt like it was a way to get me in that process. And it helped me to really pay attention to tarot cards in any deck and really connect with the energy of the cards through its visuals. And it just helped me to focus in on that, which was another way. It slows down my brain and the thoughts that I receive as far as spiritual information, which I think is important because my thoughts are a mile a minute. So it was a way to kind of bring that down. And then I also wrote down it works out my creative ideas. So I spent a lot of that time working out the things that I would like to accomplish and how that can happen. And it helps me to work through my emotions because I'm an emotional wreck most of the time. I'm all over the place. It doesn't seem that way because like in my work, I can seem very detached and distant, but it's something I work on because in real life, I'm like every emotion. So it helps with that. So those are the benefits for me.
That's really cool. Good. It actually helped me. I was writing a lot when I was channeling. And a lot of it came through written for sure.
Yeah.
But I hardly ever even go back and read it. So much less show it to anybody else. I don't even go back and read it often enough.
Well,
And
maybe
it's important.
maybe we could talk about that, if that's okay, Heather, to talk about going back.
Mhm.
Because
yeah, it's important.
it's important, and then it can also be, I don't want to say dangerous, but you have to be careful of when you go back, I think.
Yeah.
I think from everything that I read, most people agree that there needs to be a gap in time between when you write your entry
Oh
and
yeah,
when you go back and read it.
yours is nice.
Yeah, for me, it's years. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go read. Now, she used to want me to read everything as soon as I would
So she
stop
would know what
chanting,
happened that night before.
because I don't remember anything. And that was necessary. But I got to where I couldn't even do that.
Couldn't
And
do it.
I've read it years later and gone, oh, yeah, I remember.
Exactly.
So,
I
yeah,
didn't remember that.
there's quite a few things I haven't remembered.
I
But
actually
I
feel
have the journals
There's a
by my
lot.
bed, so I know they're there when I need to go through them. Because I think there's some things I need to do some shows on, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
and the answers are there.
Mhm.
And I do agree. I feel like there is an argument amongst automatic writers on how long you have to wait. So I
Right.
feel like that's up for just. I think everyone agrees you have to wait, but there are
You
some
know
people
what?
who do
I
it
think you
quickly.
just go with your gut and don't
That's
listen to
what I
anybody
feel.
else. Just go with
Exactly.
your gut.
I agree. I think
I
it
don't-
depends on who you are.
I'm not very good at doing something because somebody else does it.
Right.
Right.
I always feel like I got to listen to my gut. Because when
I
I don't
agree.
listen to my gut, I get in trouble. Things don't happen right.
And I think that that's probably why people have varying opinions, because
Exactly.
that part is very individual. I think it's very individual to the person who's doing the soul writing.
Right.
Yeah, I will say that, and I had written down, like I know Heather had asked me, what did you think of these at the time and now, like kind of like past entries?
Mhm.
And I want to just say that there were a couple of things I said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I went back to my old journals and went through a few and read some and then explained some things that happened? But I'm in the process of moving, so I had already packed them away.
Oh, no.
And then I
Yeah.
found some old, we're talking years. So Heather was right. Years ago, I had done some writing from my teaching years. Like I must have been right
Right.
around that time of the, I guess, connecting with, I'm like losing the thought here, the artist's way.
Right.
I was going through a lot in my life, big transitions. And I'm reading this stuff that I had written, and my first thought was to say, you're an absolute idiot. You're an idiot. Like, what in the world, Kerri O'Donnell, were you thinking, or where in the, and what I was realizing, even though I had a lot of negative talk toward myself, was that how much growth had happened.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
For the last 25 years.
Who was that idiot? I don't
Who
know
was
her.
that masked woman? Like what happened? But it was kind of cool once I relaxed into that. And I will say though that the one thing that surprised me, and this is one thing I felt like I wanted to share, is that I experienced new emotions reading about the past, which was related to guilt and shame, which surprised
Interesting.
me.
Yeah.
Like coming up and saying, like, here I am now with a different understanding of life or the issue I might have been writing about. And I feel so guilty, or I feel such a sense of shame that I was in that place, or that I might have said something to someone else that I know now would have been wrong, or whatever it was.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to remember when you're reading this,
yeah,
or anything that's past, is you were functioning to the best of your ability based on what you knew at that time.
Exactly.
You can't judge it by what you know now.
Exactly.
Right.
And we all do.
And we all do.
And we all do, because that's what surprised me, because I know that in my head, but the emotions that came out were still there.
And all that
was
has to do with
surprising.
the planetary stuff that's going on right
Oh,
now.
there's
That's
so much.
re-emerging. This garbage that we need to get rid of that we've been hanging on to forever.
And that was the process. It was
That
kind of like, you got to release
process.
that. You have to release it.
Perfect
Whatever you
example.
felt. You don't need to feel guilty. It happened. You're a different person now. It's done.
Exactly.
It's in the past.
Let it go.
Let it go. So there was
I
a
love it.
whole new
Brilliant.
lesson through soul
Cathartic.
writing. It was very cathartic. And I have to thank you because I was going to do something recent, but my move had forced me to look at something so far away. I probably never would have read them again.
Yeah.
I just had access to it, but things happen for a reason. Sometimes it's the right time to look at the past for something like that, for a release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And understand the messages I was receiving. And actually, I should celebrate the fact that I followed those messages. That's what brought me here.
Yep.
I'm sure I have a lot more growth over the course of my life, but it's a part of the process, which I think is what they were trying to tell me. Explain that it's a process.
Once you learn the process, it's easier.
Right.
It just gets easier because you know things change.
Things change.
Always.
People change, things change. It's just constantly moving.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
It is.
Nothing's
very
still.
cool. It also means you never get through with your lessons.
Exactly. They just take you a little deeper.
Little
I
deeper.
love this white dragon says that pesky white rabbit.
Oh, that is so true. I love that.
Linda De Gonzalez says she's been going down a rabbit hole with the Lenormand. Oh yeah, that is a big
Lenormand. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That and Kipper cards.
Oh yeah, the Kippers too. I don't like. There's something about the Kipper energy I don't like.
It's too negative for you.
It is. It just seems like a super negative deck. I don't like it.
Yeah, I never tried it.
I don't know why.
Lenormand.
I see other people. Yeah, the Lenormand's fascinating.
Yeah.
Something about Kipper. I'm just not. I don't jive with Kipper. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, you have to meld with the energy of the cards. So you're usually drawn to something on purpose because you're just ready for it.
Too.
Some things you're never drawn to. So
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was funny because one of the questions I asked is, have there some instances that led you directly back to what was written? Well, this is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This show's definitely one of them.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it that way, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I had written down a couple other ones that were actually more traumatic because I did, in a sense, predict COVID without predicting COVID. So I looked back, but I didn't understand what it was. If that
you didn't
made
know what
sense.
it meant at the time.
I didn't know, but the message was it was basically like Tower card was what was being pulled. And it was going to be something traumatic, and it was going to change our life forever, and it was going to upset our finances, and I kept thinking, like, there are a lot of traumatic things, but it seemed like it was following all of these huge changes in the way we were living, and I didn't understand that because you could experience a family or something, but it's usually a temporary thing you get over. It doesn't affect. Like, I'm like, what's happening? Is the stock market crashing? Is there an earthquake? Like, I literally couldn't figure out. And I remember,
pandemic never came to mind.
And there was a panic in the writing. Like, I was starting to panic. And that's when I went down to my husband. I said, apparently 2020 is going to suck. And I don't know why. Like, that was the message. Like, it was something I needed to prepare for. I think that message came through about 6 months before it actually went down. But I kind of feel like that's what they were trying to explain. I just didn't have the ability to understand what it exactly was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was on alert. I was on alert for 6 months. I was trying to keep everything safe and secure and not taking a lot of risks and like battling down the hatches. And that was basically the message, just to be prepared. Right. And I think I was. I didn't scramble for toilet paper. I had someone who said that inner voice that I channel that said, make sure you're stocking up in your basement. So I did. So yeah, so those types of things, I
We,
felt
we've
like
done that as well.
That's kind of funny
We did
because
that.
when she was channeling,
yeah,
a lot of the times we were being told, be prepared,
be prepared.
have extra water, have extra this and
But
extra
that
that.
was during COVID. I think that has more to do with now than then.
Yeah.
Which it could.
I
Yeah.
think it has more to do with now because with the breakdown of civilization as we know it, that is happening right now and it's going to continue to happen for the next few years.
Right.
God knows.
Yeah. And I don't know where it came from, but I kept getting this. It really resonated when I read sometime that people need to think of ourselves as earthlings, not Americans, not Europeans, not Africans. We are earthlings. And there are other planets that are different things, but we are earthlings
Right.
because we are on Earth. You got to
Right.
think more
Globally.
universally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or universal. Yeah.
Yeah, and our spiritual journey to know that we're all connected, we first have to realize we're all connected here on this
Right.
little tiny fur ball, before we
Right.
can even fathom being connected in a universal sense. You think about it, it's a small lesson to help us connect to the larger one.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I hope people get it. Some days when you look at the news, it's kind of depressing.
You don't
Yeah.
want to look at the news.
No, you don't.
No.
You don't.
it's funny.
So-
I have to just comment on that before I go to the next question, because I'm depressed and I'm not depressed. I think if you asked me that maybe 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, the news really brings me down.
Yeah, 4 years ago, I was depressed and the news was
Yeah,
killing
I
me.
was
So
just
we
like-
kept watching.
But I feel like I've kind of moved away from that, or maybe I'm just not as engaged with that. Like I feel that all of that COVID time and the Trumpian time has sort of taught me to really look for answers more within,
Absolutely.
and to live a more simple, I'm going to use the word, authentic life.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
And
true.
it could be that you are now an observer more than
Right.
participating.
Yeah,
Right.
but if I turn it on, it can turn me fast. If I
Yeah.
turn on the news, I can like that. So I ignore it. I keep it off.
That's the best way, especially if
Because I like this group of people that we hang with, this wonderful YouTube group is just all about love and light. And it makes me feel like we are spreading love and light and not participating in all the negativity that's out there.
right, and being attached to it. That's
Well,
it.
I was on my trip with my daughter. She turned on the TV a couple of times to watch different things. And I just found the entire experience violating. It was so loud and noisy and so much stuff
Mhm.
pushed at you through the commercials or even through the shows. You've got to be this way. You've got to buy this. You need this. You need that. And
You don't.
the multiple noises within each program, they were assaulting. So I really did not like watching TV at all.
Yeah.
Even sitcoms, Nova, the news, any of it. It was
Right.
I had been away from it so long, I didn't realize how annoying it can be.
Focusing on small relationships, I think, has helped me. And
Yes.
even, I want to be part of life, but I want to be part of life in my smaller communities. And I want to start there because that's where you learn the lessons that most people are very good.
Yes.
And to not listen to the rumors that try to divide us, but to like be part of your community. And yeah, everyone has different opinions and so forth. But if you talk to the average man or woman in your community, most of them want the same things. They want to, have their family. They want to be happy. They want to have a good job. They're not really into all of the extremes that we're hearing in the media. So
I agree.
I think that's an
It's
important
all blown
place to
up.
start. Yeah.
It's all blown up to be news.
Right. Right.
And
Grab
it's
you
so
in,
important.
suck you in.
Always.
And everything's like the end of
keep
the
you
world.
in fear.
Yeah.
Keep you in fear. That's another one that bothers me.
Exactly. Keep you in
Right.
fear. Absolutely.
Easier to manipulate when you're in fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's all about power and control. I don't
Exactly.
mean to be like, crazed or conspiracy theory, but I
No,
mean,
it's
at
just
the end of the day, it's just what it is.
It is what it is.
Well, I found it really interesting that when you were soul writing on the tower card, that you knew something was coming.
Mm-hmm.
That is really interesting because they were definitely talking to you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was different because the tower card can mean many different things.
Sure.
But in
Right.
that particular day, there was a sense of panic. There was a sense of urgency. I can't explain it, but it was different than other sessions.
Oh, we understand.
We
Yeah,
understand.
We understand
That's-
the feeling.
Yeah.
And you just knew, like, okay, like, what do I have to do? Okay. And I didn't understand what was coming, like you said, the details of it, but I knew that I needed to put stuff in my basement, and I needed to be aware, and I not spend much money, and like all of that. So
Right.
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did all kinds of prepper stuff ourselves.
And it's neat that you could look back and find where that is that you found that.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
And it was about 6 months right before it happened.
isn't that something?
So, mm-hmm.
So has that voice gotten stronger and stronger for you?
Absolutely. I think that for me, it's made me a better reader. It's made me more confident in who I am and my own voice. Again, I learned there was a differentiation between my voice and the voice of spirit. But at the same time, I was able to relax and allow that voice to come through me when I needed it, the spiritual voice. I think it's made me a better teacher. And it's helping me to heal from some of the things in my life that I need to heal from in order to move on to help more people. So it's definitely been part of my creative process. I want to say creative process because I do feel like I'm an
It
artist.
is. Yes,
And I
because you're taking the energies and doing something creative with it
Right.
instead of
For mankind too.
Yes.
That's what I love.
That's
For other
right.
people, to help other people.
To help other people and to help them to channel that energy for their own creations that will help mankind. I often feel like that is my role. And that's what I've learned through soul writing, that I might not be the person, the big person that brings a giant invention into the world. I'm not that person, but I'm the person that
I'm
kicks you into
supporting.
play.
We're
Yeah,
supporting it.
and I was
actually
actually going to say, I have a
Yeah.
feeling that's part of your soul contract is
Yeah.
to develop this so that you can help others.
right. I connect to
So-
others so they can connect to it to do what they were supposed to do.
Yes.
It's like, there you are. I'm going to kick you into play. Good. You're good to go. Okay, next. Like that
Right.
seems to be my role.
I love
It's
that.
yeah, I had that feeling too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you know your role, you can relax. I know that sounds crazy, but there's an acceptance to that. Like, this rings true to me.
You're
and
not
this is
still
when I'm-
searching.
Yeah, you're not searching. You're in your own power, and you're like, I'm good at that. That's something that's natural. It feels right. And so I'm not guilty because I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. It's like, this is what I'm doing. And this is what I was meant to
Being
do.
authentic.
Being authentic.
Living
I know.
authentically.
It's
I
coming
love
up again.
that.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to let her decide what the next question was because you have your notes as to what you were going to answer.
Yeah.
So
All right. So let me see what we didn't. Well, we did the benefits. Let's talk about, this is really brief because there are two things I think we didn't cover, but one of the things you said, what made you start and keep going? Stories. And we already talked about one that I stopped because of criticism, because I shared something that was not ready to be shared. But I think that the other thing,
what made you come back to doing it after stopping for 10 years?
yeah. And I think that kind of goes with what I wrote here. I wrote a force within me for a need to express myself or to be heard. And I feel like, I know that sounds crazy, but maybe there were other aspects of my life where I felt like I was silent, where, like, for example, even in teaching, I'm going to use, at the time I was a teacher, and you understand being a teacher. There are times where you're doing your thing and you have an idea, or you have a gut feeling like this is going to work, but the system shuts you down. The
Exactly.
system doesn't want to hear your authentic creative idea to help children. No, heaven knows.
You have a book and you're supposed to do exactly what
Exactly
it
what
says to do.
These are the
In
state
the order
standards.
it says.
Do that, and it was at a time where a lot of those standards were like, I teach in Massachusetts, or taught in Massachusetts. So we were the beginning of No Child Left Behind, the standards, the graduation test. New York had already done it, but we took it to another level. I had to teach through all of that. So these standards became shackles for me, and ways to silence me, and my creative, authentic way of connecting with the children was stifled. And so I think at that time, this need to express myself, this need to, well, if I can't tell them and they're not going to listen, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to talk to spirit. I'm going to say, look, we could have done this, this, and this, and to come to some solutions. So when I was doing those types of writing with spirit, I felt like I was at peace. It was a sense of, all right, they're listening to me. They hear me. And I know that sounds so silly, but that was the momentum for me to get back on the horse and to keep going.
That's wonderful. That doesn't sound silly
and
at all.
I understand your frustration with teaching, because when I first started in special ed, they didn't have any, everybody has to read from this book for their special ed. It was, I found out what they needed and how they learned. I went through all these different books and catalogs and ordered what specially for them. One book, one teacher's manual, so that we could go ahead and get things for the kid. It was special education. I remember going to a fertilizer specialist because one of the kids, all he wanted to do was be a farmer. So I went to the fertilizer special, got all the chemistry stuff. He couldn't pass a biology class and regular things. But what he learned was chemistry for what chemicals to put in the ground and when is a good time to stop and whenever you put in too much. He learned that stuff instead, which for him was much more applicable. It was also harder than biology, but he learned all that stuff, and it was
This goes
special.
to show you anybody can do what they need to do if they want to do it.
He could see why he should have this, and he worked on that.
Mm-hmm.
But now they all have, everybody has to read from this book, and everybody has to read from this book. It's different than the regular ed, but it's still one thing.
Right.
It's not special anymore.
Isn't that crazy?
And and going through that, I think, can be a very debilitating thing.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of young teachers out there that are struggling. And if you're out there and you're seeing the show, just stay with it, because your job is so important. Stay with it as long as you're able to. I know I only did 25 years. That was enough for me. But if you can even stay in for 10, because they need
I was
you.
there for 20.
Yeah. And they need you until you can't. But yeah, that was the thing, to be heard, to have.
Hi, lovely. We're
there
not
for
doing
20.
readings today. Sorry, guys. We're not doing readings. I guess I could put a little
banner across. This is an interview with somebody who does something a little different, and we wanted to know a lot more about it. Have I got that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I want to know. I also want to know the influence it's having you moving.
I'm very different.
But every one of us is, and there's no right way for anyone. Basically, everybody gives all different ways, and people can try them. And if they work for them, great. If not, go for something different. It's okay.
And it comes back down, like we had talked about, process. And I think spiritual process is important for those people who are going through what they would call a spiritual journey. It's like anything. It's like a muscle that has to be practiced. It has to become part of your life, whether you read a little bit each morning, whether you write, whether you meditate, whatever it is, you hike, like, because we talked about hiking as meditation, is going out and forest bathing for me is a huge way to connect to spirit. Whatever it is, it has to be a regular part of your everyday life. It has to be.
Yeah.
That's how you work.
Consistency.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's how you do it. There is an element of discipline to this. There is, in some ways.
There is.
Wanted to really grow. Yeah.
There was an element of the same, doing the morning pages.
Yeah.
Having to commit to the morning pages.
You have to commit. And I actually wrote off, there are times that I didn't do morning pages, and I wrote, usually that had to do with work, being exhausted from work, my kids, because they sometimes need my attention, or I wrote just being downright tired.
Right.
Probably say tired or lazy, like, oh, I don't want to do that right now. But see,
You
that's
know, I used to think that was lazy, but it's not. We do so many things in our lives,
Even in our sleep.
and even in our sleep, that it's not lazy. You need to rest.
Yeah.
sometimes you do.
You just sometimes do need to rest.
Yeah. I think that
We have a
go ahead.
saltwater pool, and that's where I rest and recuperate. There's
Yeah.
something about getting in that salt water that 15 minutes in there, I feel like I've had a good 2-hour nap, or I've had a good massage. I don't know. It just changes my outlook on things. Just
Right.
floating around in that salt water is just amazing. And I do laps every day. I try to do laps every day. I've just started them back up in the last couple of weeks, but I love getting out there and swimming every morning.
Nice.
And it's my commitment to getting healthy and fit. So
I had a reader a long time ago who said that the key to happiness for me, and I kind of feel like other people would benefit, would be to make sure that in a week's span, you're doing a little reading, learning something new, that you're doing something creative. In my case, it was writing, that you're doing something physical for your body. And I think she also listed it, and you're doing something fun, where you have like one block of time where you're just doing something to bring joy to yourself. And I
right.
always took that to heart, you know.
That's a good, that's a good
Balance.
list.
Yeah, it's good balance.
It is a good balance. I do yoga 3 days a week with my friend Jules on the back porch.
Oh, God bless you. Those
When and if we can, when and if if
yeah.
And if
feel like
she's not
it.
here, they do it electronically.
Yeah, we do it FaceTime just to keep us going. You know, we don't have to do it every other day, but it keeps us going. And I love yoga. It's a meditation for me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is for a lot of people.
It is for me. And then I go out and dig in the dirt in the garden. I have a beautiful garden, and I love to dig in the dirt. So that keeps me grounded.
I love my garden. I love
Yeah.
We grow orchids down here on the trees. It's crazy.
And I love walking, and I will be very happy when I can do it again.
Yeah, once she has her surgery.
Yeah, once you have your surgery.
Start her walking again.
Yeah. But all of that is a way of getting in that zone.
In the zone.
And it's hard to explain to some people who want to connect. They're like, how do I connect to spirit? But when you get into that mode, and you're letting go of that ego, that the thoughts in your head, you're calming that. That's when you hear the voice or feel it, or however you're attuned to it, receiving spirit. That's when it happens. You got to get into that mode. And all of those things you discussed are perfect ways to get into that mode.
Oh, floating around in the pool. I swear that salt water is an amplifier, because the messages
With the salt.
are so clear.
And it also helps balance your body out. Just the salt water.
Yeah. I've heard that for a lot of years. People have been talking about saltwater baths, even the 1800s and so forth, as a way of, in spas and that's the type of thing.
It's a much cleaner way to do it than getting in the ocean.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to get it wet at all, then go out to the pier and it's ocean all around you.
Yeah. That's pretty neat energetically too.
Yeah. I love the ocean. That's another place, a nice place to go where you feel so small compared to the world, and it just puts things in perspective.
It does.
I think that's why I love cruises. And I must have, when I sign up for a cruise, there's ought to be one day that doesn't do anything but stay at the water. You're not going to pull into a port. You're in the water for that whole day. And that's what rejuvenates me, is being around that water.
Yeah. And you're in the right place where you're living now. Definitely both in the right place.
Surrounded.
Exactly.
We have the Atlantic on one side and the Gulf on the other.
Can't get better than that.
It's wonderful energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go back to questions, because I want to know how it's affecting you with you and your new journey to New Hampshire.
I know, my new journey. And for
Isn't
those,
it amazing how life just all of a sudden goes, whoop, we're going here.
this is a big one for me because,
Cool.
and it's funny because in my writing, I am remembering a lot of a certain time in my life that I think is parallel to this one. So I'll just tell you that a lot of stuff is coming up from when I was 18 and I was going off to college for the first time, leaving my family and going off to college. There is some sort of parallel into what I'm doing now, into this new phase, and I'll explain that in a minute, to what happened then. Now, what happened then was a little traumatic for me, and I didn't handle it very well at that particular time. It was one of those things that I had always known I was going to college, or I wanted to go to college. You know how you're just, in my family, it was just, that's what you do. I mean, I'm just going to explain it that way. It was just socialized that way. I don't know if I was thinking about any other options, to be honest. It's just what you did. And I was very close to my family. But I came from a big family. I had 3 other younger siblings. I was the oldest. You know, there was a family of 6 and a 1,500 square foot house. You know, it was tight. It was busy. I had my own room because I was the oldest, and now I'm ready to go. So it was something as simple as, before I even left, all my stuff was packed. I was sleeping on the couch, and my younger brother was already moving into my bedroom. So I was already,
Wow.
in a sense, like kicked out, but I took it as not that I was getting ready for a new journey, but that I was being abandoned. You know, like I just felt the sense of being lost, of being cast out. You know, these are the thoughts of an 18-year-old girl going through that. And then having to have this completely new way of living in a dorm with people from all over, like a very diverse campus. And my roommate was from Puerto Rico. So I had different cultures that I was dealing with. I came from a very white suburban town, like very white, like 2 people of color in the whole town kind of thing. And now I'm seeing people from all walks of life. So there was a lot of learning, a lot of feeling like, where am I? I'm in the big world and this is all new. And I guess I took it as I need to survive. Like that's the feeling I had. I didn't have a lot of tools. The parallel is this time is I'm getting ready. I have my youngest is graduating from college. So in all respects, all my children are adults and I finished that part of my life. So there's something very symbolic. And my husband and I are now making the move to where we always wanted to live in New Hampshire. And we're having to go through like all of that, like giving up a whole section of life of how we lived and doing something completely on our own away from the family and having to deal with all the repercussions about that. But here's some irony. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching the show, but there's a switch here because I felt I was cast out when I was 18, but now I think my mom is feeling like she's being cast out, that I'm moving away. So there's like a reverse. There's kind of like now we're getting like the feeling from other family members, not just her, but like everyone's going through something different. Like, wow, these people had always been here for us. They're going to be a little further away. What does that mean for me? So there's like a reverse.
Interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah. And Spirit's showing me there are parallels on how you're going to feel about this, and it's going to be all new, and you're going to have to start over. But I think I have the tools this time. It's almost like a test. Like you didn't have the tools before, but now you have the tools and you can do this differently. You can make
absolutely look at it as an adventure for you and your husband. Oh my God. Your kids are grown, away from home. It's an adventure. That's kind of when David died and we moved all the way across the country from Texas to here. Just packed it up, got rid of everything and left my family behind.
And
it's been great.
Yeah. And again, guilt and shame feelings that come up with me about that I'm trying to work through, because it's still a sense of, I do understand what this means for you because I might have gone through it, you know, as they showed me when I was younger, and those feelings.
But it's also not your issue. Their issues are not your issues.
And that's the lesson, right?
Because that is absolutely the lesson, because my family, I felt, I felt a big release being that far away from. I felt like my duty was done. See ya.
Yeah.
And
And I
I'm
do
good
feel
with
that.
that.
I do feel that in some way.
Mhm.
I had children
Hi,
at a very
Dancery.
young age.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've always been there for other people. And this is a time to be there for myself.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
Things will change.
And it's been great so far.
And she's like, woo!
Yeah. It was one of the best moves I've ever made.
Yeah.
But they were all behind me too. I mean, nobody was going, don't move. You know.
Yeah, no one here is telling me not to
No.
move, but you get the little subtle guilt things.
Yeah.
You know,
What am I going to do without you?
it's kind of like, well, what will Christmas be like, or what will this be like, or
Yeah.
or just the silence of, you know, I can't even believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And I think they'll all go through something a little different, but everybody will be fine.
Sure they will.
Everybody is
And I
always
can't wait to see where you end up.
Me too. We know about the area,
Uh-huh.
but I feel
Are
like
you looking for land?
we're looking for a house on a good 3 acres of land would be ideal. That's
Great.
our goal. And so we're waiting for some, you know, there are many moving parts to this move financially. And when it all comes together, I kind of feel like within the next 2 months, we'll probably know exactly where we're going.
Awesome.
So
Are you already packing?
I am already packing because I already know it's coming. Like I kind of know the timeline. Spirit's already kind of told me that. It will
Brilliant.
probably be the end of August, beginning of September is the big move. That's what I'm feeling in my gut.
And what kind of work are you going to do when you get there? How are you going to follow through with the tarot soul writing?
Now, that's the big question. And this is for everyone because there's going to be a period where I have to shut down personal readings, everything for like a month because I have to get my stuff together. But then when I'm secure, what I've been told and what I feel I need to do is I will be really working full throttle on YouTube. And I'm going to be doing a lot more interviews and working with a lot more people I would feel with intention where I haven't before. And I'm also going to be working on a book, apparently. So, and I don't know the exact title, but I do know the topic. It will be about transitions and the transition that I just completed and the different transitions that we go through and what they mean and so forth. And I'll be looking back on some of the messages I received as well as my own experiences to explain those to other people and how they can get through those transitions. Apparently, that's what I'm supposed to be working on next.
That
cool.
sounds interesting.
I'm glad you know. That's fantastic.
It is.
And we'll be doing soul writing classes. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, starting in October. So we'll be starting those up again. And that way we can all join in with the process together. That's the goal.
Oh, that
That's
sounds
cool.
wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
I'll probably take another soul writing class because I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the people that I met through it.
Yeah.
As well.
I would love to have like a beginning class and then like a more advanced class. Like
Mhm.
you've already gone through the class. So I feel like there should be a class, like a new set of things that we do. And
I'm sure you'll come up with it.
I'm mulling it over now as we speak. It's happening.
It's happening. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, is that it, ladies? Did we cover everything?
I think we covered everything on my list.
I think we
And,
really
and
did.
I understand it a whole lot more.
Good.
And I really appreciate
I
it.
bet people watching understand it a whole lot better too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
You
Yes.
are
It's
very
always
welcome.
so much fun to talk to you. And you always have such great ideas.
And I love the two of you. You
thank
always have a way of just saying, yeah, Kerri, you're going through this. Boom. You just nail it right on the head.
It's just a different perspective.
It's just different.
You know, it's just a different perspective. And you go, duh.
Oh.
Oh, you put it away. I understand better. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have
it
to
happens.
don't have to mull it over. Okay.
What time? We've got 5 minutes left. Do you guys want to pull a card for the collective?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
I
collective.
don't
for
see
the,
any
right.
questions. I think everybody's. Oh, hi, Linda. Thank you.
Oh,
We
thank
enjoy
you,
doing
Linda.
this. Oh,
Yes,
for
we
people
do.
that can't see the TV or see it, Says Linda says these discussions are always so interesting. I learned so much, and I really appreciate you for doing them. And we appreciate you for watching them.
Yes, we do.
Because we
definitely.
appreciate learning from other people. Hi,
Yes.
Amanda Carroll. Lovely to see you here today, too.
And big heart back to you. Okay, something for the
Just for the
collective.
collective.
I'm just going to pull one.
What are you doing next? Do you have any shows or you are coming
You
up?
are actually the last collaboration I'll be doing for the summer, just because I'm packing and getting ready for all of these different things. But I will have a Wednesday show until I can't, live at 5:00, and we do political and current event readings on that show. So
Wonderful.
that will, if anyone wants to bump in there.
Your
come on by.
details are in the description of this video. If anybody would like to, you do readings. What am I thinking? You
And I do
readings
personal
too.
readings, and
Right.
I'm open for business until probably the end of the summer, like I said, in which there'll be an announcement. You just have to go to tarotsoulwriter.com and just follow the instructions from there. It's pretty simple.
Information is in the description of this video. So if you want a reading or you want to know more about tarot soul writing, there you go. Okay.
I'll go ahead and say mine since I have it, but mine came up life energy, and I feel like it's telling you everything that I tell you. Shine your light, let everybody know it, and don't forget to address all those shadows that need to be healed.
Yes.
But shine your light to everybody, including yourself.
And I pulled wisdom,
Ooh,
which I thought was so
love it.
interesting. It's a really cool card too.
Yeah, that's great.
And I just feel like that's exactly what we're trying to advocate for.
Mhm.
Especially the two of you on the Crone Zone. It's all about wisdom, about life. And for me, I've been talking about inner wisdom. That's what soul writing is all about, and connecting with our inner wisdom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Right.
I pulled the Shaolin Master, be graceful in movement and action. And it's really just being steady, moving slowly and deliberately, mindfully, in movement and action. I love him.
And movement and action.
And yeah, and you can see the golden pearl of knowledge, of wisdom, the pearl of wisdom.
I was going to say knowledge and wisdom.
And the mantis. He's holding a mantis as well.
Beautiful.
Woo. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say thanks to the people in the chat. Thank you for showing up and participating.
Hi, Tracy Ralph. Nice to see you here. Amanda Carroll, Bora 333.
And
Thanks
then,
everybody for showing up. We appreciate it.
Would you like to let them know what we're doing next?
I have no idea what I'm doing next.
Oh, okay. Well, we will see
But we'll
you
be here Tuesday.
at 3:00.
I don't remember what the show is on Tuesday, but we will be here on Tuesday and next Saturday.
And I've got two in my head, so I don't know which one it is.
I forgot to write it down.
Okay.
It'll be something wonderful.
Yeah.
Right?
Always is.
It always is, right?
Always is. Yes.
Anyway, thank you guys in the chat for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Go out and shine your light. Let your freak flag fly. You know that's important. We love you all. And thank you again, Kerrie, for being here.
And as I've always said, make sure you are in that light that you shine.
Exactly. Bye-bye, everyone. And thank
Bye.
you.